Hello and welcome to The Big Fight. For all the debate and discussion that has been taking place around a lot of issues in the last few weeks and months, land perhaps continues to be one of the most driving issues of our time. And the battle over land acquisition is something that will continue to rage, I suspect, for quite some time. Now, a new draft land acquisition bill is out there. It is being discussed. It is supposed to be debated, and suggestions are to be taken. And then there is a hope that this will finally set matters to rest. And one of the most contentious issues that has been there in independent India will be behind us. Now, is that really going to happen or not? What are the provisions? Let's just debate them in a studio like this, and perhaps we'll come up with some ideas which we can then send off to the ministry. We're really doing their job for them in getting consultation out here in front of everybody. And we have a fantastic panel to help us doing that. Let me start by welcoming Harsh Mander, who's a member of the NSE. We've been working very closely on this draft bill and coming up with lots of suggestions. Mukul Rohatgi, senior advocate of the Supreme Court, has done a lot of cases, a lot of work in land acquisition cases and what happens around it. Jay Panda with us again because he comes from a place where land and land acquisition has been a particularly sensitive issue. Dr. Rajiv Kumar, Director General of FICCI, industry very concerned as to what's going to happen, and we'll be seeing whether you are happy with this bill or whether you would like to see changes in it. Jayant Chaudhary, Lok Sabha MP from the RLD, actually he has just tabled his own land acquisition bill, and here it is. So you beat the government to it, and we'll see to what extent their bill differs from yours and where this stands going forward. Gives me great pleasure to welcome Dr. Anil Kumar Sharma, who's a CMD of the Amrapali Group. Next to him, Bhupinder Singh Rawat, who's a leader of the farmers who've been affected by some of the developments out there. Debabrata Bandyopadhyay also joining us, former Commissioner of Land Reforms, West Bengal government, who's been an advisor to Mamata Banerjee on Singur and Nandigram. And also here in our audience, we do have some special people who've been affected by land acquisition, both from the farmers' point of view and the people who bought flats and then are now wondering what we should do. Thank you all for being with us. Why don't I first start off by getting your first quick reactions to the draft bill that they have come up with. Does it address all the problems? Is it a good bill, or does it still require a lot of work? Harsh.
This bill makes rehabilitation legally enforceable. It's not just the compensation that is paid up front. It recognizes that farmers require ongoing support. So there's an upfront payment, and then people keep getting paid over the years. But I think one of the most important things is that it recognizes that affected people are not just the farmer who owns the land, but people who work on the land. So the landless, the tenant, is also supported for 20 years. I think it has a commitment to minimize displacement, not displace people from arable lands, have a transparent process. I think it's really, if we can push this through, it will make the suffering of about 60 million people who've been displaced by big projects through a very, very colonial kind of acquisition process. It might restore the justice somewhere.
Actually, that's one of the questions I'm coming to a little later. It doesn't restore justice in their cases. It's only forward-looking. So the 60 million people who've been affected so far, there are some issues around that which I think we need to look at and discuss and debate. But रावत जी, जो नया नियम अगर आएगा, क्या आप उससे खुश हैं? क्या आप संतुष्ट हैं उससे?
इस पूरे बिल को पढ़ने के बाद मैं इस नतीजे पर पहुंचा कि काश इसको वो किसान बनाते जो पिछले 2000 वर्षों से सिर्फ खेती पर निर्भर रह करके पुरखों से पलते हुए आ रहे हैं। अगर वो बिल बनाते तो कुछ और तरीका होता। असल में बिल बनाने वाले वो लोग हैं जिनका खेती से कोई लेना देना नहीं है।
आपका आपत्ति किस बात से?
मैं बता रहा हूं, वही कर रहा हूं मैं। हम 2000 वर्ष बाद ये तय करने वाले हैं कि हम आपकी सारी जमीन ले लेंगे, और सारी जमीन लेने के बाद हम आपको पुनर्वास नहीं कर पाएंगे तो हम आपको पैसा दे देंगे, और एक पीढ़ी के लिए एक व्यक्ति को रोजगार दे देंगे, और 1 साल के लिए 3000 रुपए देंगे, और अगले 20 साल हम 2000 रुपए देंगे। तब मैं ये सवाल करना चाहता हूं, क्या भारत का भविष्य अगले 50 साल में खत्म होने वाला है, या भारत अगले 2000 वर्ष और जिंदा रहने वाला है?
What about industry? Is industry happy with this bill? Well, does it make because industry has said one of the biggest problems we have is getting inputs, labor of course, but land. Yeah. Does it make it easier, more difficult, impossible for government to get land?
Industry is very happy because this act would depoliticize the whole land procurement process, makes it more transparent, gives it a sort of, a modern, outlook. But at the same time, there are many things. The devil is in the detail. So while the industry welcomes it, I think, for example, how would you determine the market value?
At the end of the day, farmers may still not get a fair price.
Well, the farmers may not get a fair price, but also the whole thing becomes still unimplementable. Because the whole thing can again get politicized. So an example, the definition of public purpose. It sort of says industrialization, which is a general public use, again left open to interpretation. A clearer definition of the essential domain of public purpose is still much more needed than what you've got there.
NDTV's cricket app, Android and iPhone, fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.